So if you're one of the millions of people who dread that morning mirror check, you definitely know the frustration of acne-prone skin.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just a physical thing, is it? It's this whole emotional and, frankly, expensive puzzle you have to solve.
And you're navigating this minefield of hormones, stress, diet, and you're just wondering if that new moisturizer is going to betray you overnight.
It is so complex, and the line between, just generic oily skin and truly acne-prone skin gets so blurred in all the marketing.
Right.
So our mission today is really to cut through that noise. We're giving you a clear, consolidated, deep dive into the specific mechanisms, the research, and the strategies for this exact skin type.
Okay, so let's start right at the foundation, the definition. We know the baseline is skin that's more susceptible to breakouts, but what's the actual difference between acne-prone and something like blemish-prone?
The key is really the mechanism. Acne-prone skin is rooted in a very specific medical cascade. Your pores are just easily and chronically clogged.
Chronically, that's the word.
Exactly. It happens when hormones ramp up oil production sebum, and it mixes with dead skin cells. That creates the perfect storm for P. acnes bacteria. Blemish-prone is, well, it's a much broader term.
It's a catch-all.
It's a total catch-all. It just means you get spots from any source.
Yeah.
It could be sun damage, friction, anything. Acne-prone is about that specific clogged pore pathology.
And this isn't some rare condition. When we looked at the sources, the global scale of it's just staggering.
It really is. It affects nearly 10% of the world. A 2024 study puts it at about 9.4% of the global population.
Wow.
And while we all think of teenagers, and sure, about 85% of people between 12 and 24 get it, it's not just an adolescent thing. It persists, especially in women, because of hormonal shifts from menstruation, pregnancy, PCOS.
So for a lot of people, it's a lifelong management commitment.
It really is.
Okay, that brings us to the first actionable step. If you're listening and you suspect you have this specific condition, what are the high-level signs you should be looking for?
Well, we can kind of scrap the basic checklists you see online, because for an informed listener, the single biggest differentiator between just oily skin and actual acne-prone skin is the presence of comedones.
Right, the blackheads and whiteheads.
Exactly. If you're chronically acne-prone, you will see a constant recurrence of blackheads. Those are open comedones, and whiteheads, which are closed. Oily skin, on the other hand, just looks shiny.
It doesn't necessarily have that physical architecture, that blockage.
It doesn't. So you're looking for that architecture, the enlarged, obviously clogged pores, the bumpy texture. Combine that with consistent oil in the T-zone and an inflammatory response.
Meaning that redness, swelling, tenderness.
And then you've pretty much confirmed the diagnosis.
And we should probably touch on why getting this diagnosis right and treating it early is so critical. There's a lasting risk here.
A huge risk. It's the risk of scarring and post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, or PIH.
PIH, yeah.
When that inflammation goes deep into the skin, it causes real trauma to the tissue. That results in pitted scars, things like ice picks or boxcar scars or those lasting dark marks from PIH. That risk alone just elevates the urgency of managing it properly.
Okay, so let's unpack the why. We've got the three core mechanics down: excess oil, clogged pores, and that P. acnes bacteria. But what triggers those mechanics to go into overdrive?
The primary triggers are almost always internal and chemical. Hormones, hands down.
Right.
When androgen hormones surge during puberty or from stress or conditions like PCOS, they basically tell your sebaceous glands to get bigger and make more oil.
And that extra oil is the fuel for the fire.
It's the fuel. It mixes with dead skin cells, which leads to something called keratinization inside the pore. Everything gets trapped, and that's what starts the breakout.
And then there's the trigger that I think is the most frustrating for so many people: stress. It feels like this impossible loop.
Oh, it is. You stress about your skin, and then the stress makes your skin worse.
Yeah.
And that vicious cycle is, scientifically validated. When you're stressed, your cortisol levels go up. Cortisol stimulates those same sebaceous glands, and you get more oil. So managing that link is just as important as any cream you put on your face.
The research also highlighted a really interesting link with the environment. We always think heat and humidity are the enemy, but it sounds like dry climates can be a problem too.
It absolutely cuts both ways. High humidity means more sweat and oil, for sure. But in a dry or cold climate, your skin's moisture barrier gets compromised.
So it panics.
It panics, and it overproduces oil to compensate. So the key is always balance, keeping your skin hydrated no matter what the weather is doing outside.
Okay, now for the controversial one, diet. We always hear avoid sugar, avoid dairy. But is it really that simple? What did our sources find?
It's not quite that simple, and it's not universal, but the connection is strong,
Yeah.
and it's all about inflammation. Foods with a high glycemic load, so we're talking refined carbs, white bread, pastries, French fries, they spike your blood sugar. That triggers a hormonal response that increases inflammation.
And oil production.
You guessed it, more oil. Dairy is linked too, mostly because of its own hormonal content, which can mimic those androgens. It's not about avoiding everything, but just being aware of what triggers that inflammatory cascade in your body.
And before we get to treatments, we have to quickly touch on differentiation. What should someone look for to tell acne apart from something like rosacea or folliculitis?
This is so important because the treatments are completely different. With rosacea, you'll see redness and bumps, but critically, no blackheads,
No comedones.
no comedones. And you'll see that flushing and maybe visible blood vessels. Folliculitis is different again. It's an infection of the hair follicle itself, which can look like a pimple, but it's not caused by that same clogging mechanism, though they can unfortunately coexist.
All right, with a diagnosis confirmed, let's talk about treatment. We have the over-the-counter options and then the big guns from a prescription. For mild cases, salicylic acid is foundational.
It really is the workhorse. Salicylic acid, or BHA, is oil-soluble. That's the key.
Right.
It means it can get deep inside the pore and dissolve that gunk, the mix of oil and dead cells, unclogging it from the inside out.
And then there's benzoyl peroxide. It's effective, but you always hear about the irritation, the bleaching of towels.
And you should still be cautious. Always start low and slow, maybe at 2.5% concentration, and use it as short contact therapy at first.
Meaning you just wash it off after a few minutes.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
can be irritating, but it's so effective because it pumps oxygen into the pore, and the P. acnes bacteria can't survive in an oxygen-rich environment. It just kills them off.
And we also now have adapalene over the counter.
Yes, which is huge.
Yeah.
It's a topical retinoid that works at the cellular level to stop clogs from even forming in the first place.
But if that stuff doesn't work, we move into prescription territory, which is where things get more powerful and more complex.
Absolutely. Prescription retinoids like tretinoin just dramatically speed up cell turnover. They basically force your pores to shed all that debris really fast.
That's what causes the purge, right?
Yeah.
Where it gets worse before it gets better.
That's the purge. And then for severe, deep cystic acne, you have oral isotretinoin. It can be a cure for many, but it requires serious medical oversight. We have to monitor liver function. There are strict protocols around pregnancy prevention.
That level of monitoring really shows you how powerful these drugs are.
It does. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, a lot of people want natural alternatives, and the sources had some interesting data on that.
Yeah, let's get into that. What actually has evidence behind it?
The one that really stood out was tea tree oil. We know it's antibacterial. Well, one study showed a 5% tea tree oil gel reduced acne lesions by about 50%.
That's significant.
It is. And comedones by 40%. But, and this is a big but, you must dilute it with a carrier oil. It is potent and can cause major irritation on its own.
And what about supplements like zinc? Why does that seem to work for so many people?
Zinc helps in a few ways. It's a natural anti-inflammatory, it helps with wound healing, and it plays a role in controlling sebum production. Whether you take it orally or use it topically, though, you have to do it carefully.
You need to talk to a doctor before you start supplementing.
Always. And don't forget the simple stuff, like aloe vera. It's soothing, anti-inflammatory, and actually inhibits the growth of P. acnes.
Okay, moving on to daily maintenance, the core skincare routine. This has to be a consistent, structured plan, but we need to get more specific than just cleanse and moisturize.
Agreed. Step 1, cleanse twice a day with a gentle formula. And the type of cleanser really matters. You want something that's pH balanced, ideally between 5.0 and 5.5.
Why is that pH so important?
Because that's the skin's natural state. Maintaining that slightly acidic mantle keeps your skin barrier strong and makes it a pretty hostile environment for bad bacteria.
And then exfoliation. This is where I feel like people get way too aggressive.
Way too aggressive. You have to avoid vigorous scrubbing entirely. We're talking about mild chemical exfoliation, maybe once or twice a week using BHAs or AHAs.
Like glycolic acid.
Exactly.
Yeah?
It just gently dissolves the glue, holding those dead skin cells together. Some products do use physical exfoliants, like walnut shell powder,
Yeah.
but only when they're combined with something soothing, like manuka honey, to make sure you're not creating micro tears in the skin.
Okay, then we get to hydration. This is the step people with oily skin always want to skip.
And it is such a critical mistake. If you strip the skin and don't replenish that hydration, your body just overcompensates by producing even more oil.
Right.
You have to use a non-comedogenic, oil-free moisturizer. Look specifically for niacinamide. It's fantastic because it helps regulate oil production and can even reduce the appearance of your pores.
And the final non-negotiable step, sunscreen. Especially since, as you said, there's that PIH risk.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Acne treatments make your skin more sensitive to the sun, and UV radiation is what makes those dark spots darker and last so much longer. So oil-free, broad-spectrum, SPF 30 or higher every single day.
That hydration point takes us beyond topicals, too. It seems almost too simple, but just drinking enough water is a huge factor.
It is profoundly simple, but so effective. When you're dehydrated, your skin produces excess oil. Simple as that. Good internal hydration helps maintain your skin barrier, reduces redness, and just helps your body's natural detox processes.
The sources also mention a really interesting targeted product, a spray.
Yes, the hypochlorous acid spray. This is a cool one. HOCl is a compound that our own white blood cells produce to fight infection. So when you spray a medical-grade version on your skin, it gently kills surface bacteria and reduces swelling without stripping your skin barrier. It's a really interesting cleansing alternative.
All right, let's shift focus now to the long game. The lifestyle and aesthetic management needed for really sustained, clear skin.
Right, long-term management is all about reducing those internal stressors. So for diet, that means avoiding the high glycemic stuff and integrating more fiber, more omega-3s, more probiotics to support your gut health.
And getting back to that vicious cycle of stress, you have to actively manage your cortisol levels.
You absolutely do. Mindfulness, yoga, regular exercise. These aren't just, wellness buzzwords. They are vital tools for lowering cortisol and stopping that hormonal trigger for oil production.
And basic hygiene stuff, too.
Oh, for sure. You have to wash the things that touch your face, pillowcases, your phone screen, makeup brushes, regularly.
Speaking of makeup, this requires a really specific technique if you have acne-prone skin. You want to cover things up without making them worse. The sources laid out a 7-step plan.
The goal is always coverage without clogging.
Yeah.
So first, you prep with a clean, oil-free canvas. Second, before foundation, use a green color corrector. Green neutralizes red on the color wheel. So you just dab a tiny bit on red areas, and it cancels out the redness, so you need less heavy foundation later.
Smart. Third, choose a lightweight, oil-free, non-comedogenic foundation. Mineral foundations are often great for this.
Fourth, when you conceal, use a dabbing motion. Never rub. Rubbing just lifts the product off and highlights the texture you're trying to hide. Fifth, set it all with a translucent oil-free powder, focusing on the T-zone.
Sixth, and this is a big one, use powder formulas for blush and bronzer, not creams or liquids.
Yes, because creams can melt into your pores during the day. And finally, number 7, lock it all in with a matte oil-controlling setting spray.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. When should a listener stop trying to manage this on their own and just call a professional?
There are 4 clear, non-negotiable reasons. 1, if your over-the-counter treatments have shown 0 improvement after several weeks of consistent use.
2, if you're getting severe, painful acne, cysts, nodules.
Exactly. Deep lesions that need prescription strength help to prevent permanent damage.
3, if that acne is already causing noticeable scarring or pigmentation.
Yes, because you'll need professional treatments like peels or lasers to minimize that. And the 4th point is about the psychological impact. If your acne is causing serious emotional distress, anxiety, low self-esteem, social withdrawal, that is a huge signal to get professional help.
Because early intervention helps prevent both the physical scars and the mental health scars.
Precisely. So, to really synthesize this entire deep dive, the most effective path here is holistic. It's patient. It's a long-term commitment that combines those targeted ingredients like salicylic acid with just non-negotiable hygiene and proactive lifestyle changes.
Right. You're supporting your skin from the inside with hydration and stress reduction, and from the outside with the right products. And remembering that emotional aspect is just as important as the physical.
Absolutely. And this whole journey really demands a methodical approach. We learned that figuring out if a new routine works takes time. You need about 30 days for initial results, and you can only really evaluate it fully after 3 months.
So here's a provocative thought for you to take with you. During those first few weeks of a new routine, you have to be able to tell the difference between temporary skin purging, which is actually a good sign, and a lasting negative reaction.
It's so crucial.
Be a scientist about your own skin. Keep a log not just of breakouts, but of the other signs. Because if you see things like increased dryness, new persistent redness, constant irritation or itching, and those things stick around past that initial month, your routine isn't purging, it's protesting. And that's a clear signal that the product is wrong for you and it needs to be replaced.